Earlier this week, Apple introduced a brand new Apple Pencil, the first one we have had in 5 years. However, there's a catch. They've stripped out some of the most important features that artists rely on every day. Hello, my name is Brad. I review tech for creative professionals, and today we are talking about, yes, the brand new Apple Pencil. Before starting this video, I did a quick look around YouTube just to see, what the vibe is around this thing, and it's kind of intense whenever Apple does anything. A lot of people come out of the woodwork to rant. I guess that gets views. So I just want to preface this. This is not a rant. What I want to talk about is understanding why Apple has made some of the choices they make. I will say off the top, I do disagree with this choice, not because I think it's a bad choice for Apple from a marketing standpoint or even a money-making standpoint, business standpoint. I don't like it because it makes my life harder. If you've watched many of my videos, you've probably heard me say, especially in my iPad videos, many times, get the Apple Pencil. Don't get these third-party pencils because they don't have features like pen pressure, which is really key if you're learning art. And what happens a lot in some of the online courses that I have and stuff like that, they are catered towards beginners. And oftentimes the question I will get at the beginning of the course when someone starts taking it, maybe they just got a brand new iPad, they're excited, they want to start drawing, is they get into this stuff and they're like, okay, how do I turn the pen pressure on? And immediately I think, oh no, and I have to start asking some questions. And 9 times out of 10, it's that they have like an inexpensive stylus that they went with instead of an Apple Pencil to save a little bit of money. And I have to be the guy who explains, unfortunately, your stylus isn't going to work with what I am teaching. And a lot of new consumers are really price conscious. So I think if you see 3 Apple Pencils sitting in front of you and you find one that costs, this is like $60 less. It is significantly less than the Apple Pencil version 2. If you see that sitting there and you think it's the same, it just charges differently, that's what you're going to buy. And so I know that over the course of the next few years, getting the information out about this pencil not really being adequate for art is going to be a full-time job. And that's going to be something you hear me say in a lot of videos going forward. Make sure you get the Apple Pencil. And so yes, personally, it makes my life harder, but I understand why Apple's doing this. So let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about the features this pencil has and what this pencil does not have. Apple made a nice little chart for us. I'm looking at it over here. First of all, you get the same precision that the Apple Pencil has. That's really good. Low latency, fantastic. Tilt sensitivity. This is kind of interesting. I would have thought that if you're taking features out, this would be one to take out. But apparently, I guess they can kind of keep that in there, keep the price down. Pressure sensitivity. This is the only Apple Pencil that does not have pressure sensitivity. And this is the big one. Probably if you're watching this particular video, you already know how important it is to art and illustration to have pressure sensitivity. But if you're using this for notes or handwriting or that sort of thing, or just to kind of navigate your iPad, you don't really need it. So I understand why Apple's not going with it here. It does attach magnetically, but it does not charge magnetically. Instead, you can kind of pull the back cap off. It doesn't fully come off, it just kind of slides off, and there's a USB Type-C port in there. So this is going to be easier to charge than the Apple Pencil 1 on the most recent 10th gen iPad, which required a little dongle piece in order to charge that pencil properly. And the last one is this does support the Apple Pencil Hover on the iPad Pro. This is worth noting that Hover is a feature that only exists on the M2 iPad Pro, and I'm assuming going forward, currently that's the most recent iPad Pros, and it doesn't support anything before that. Okay, so why is Apple doing this? I think the framework that you need to put this information in is the education market. When you look at Apple's entry-level iPad, yes, they sell it to consumers, but really the core audience, the base level of features that they're going for, the base level of features they need to sell to the education market in order to sell it to schools and students and that sort of thing. Most public schools use Chromebooks, but a lot of institutions end up using iPads. They end up using the entry-level iPad, and they get pencils for those iPads, and oftentimes they'll get type covers for those iPads as well for the students to use. And many of the choices that we as consumers disagree with in that entry-level iPad and now in this new stylus come from some of those baseline things that the education market is looking for. For example, on the last version of the iPad, the 10th gen, which released last fall, they put it in the iPad Air framework, kind of like they squared off the edges. They got rid of that face button that the older iPads had. And so the assumption, at least I assumed early on, was that this would work with the Apple Pencil 2 and it would charge and pair magnetically along the side of the iPad. Pretty soon it came out that no, this still worked with the original Apple Pencil 1. And if you go back and watch the reviews, including mine, I think I was kind of rational about it, but many of the reviews pointed out how crazy this was. And it is a little crazy. Like, you know, you've flattened out the sides. Why wouldn't you just put the charging mechanism in? So first of all, the education market has a lot of Apple Pencils already. So if they're going to be buying new iPads for their new batches of students or to replace iPads that maybe have been damaged or that sort of thing, they don't want to have to deal with having different styluses that work on different iPads. Like this one only works with this iPad and this one only works with that iPad. And it got kind of confusing. One thing I'm not clear, another thing that I think folks in the education market were going for, especially since a lot of schools were remote learning over the last few years, and it takes a little bit of time for the product design to catch up with the market here, is I think a centered camera on the long end, landscape end center of the iPad was important. And again, that's where the charging mechanism for the Pencil would normally go. So putting a camera there, it just didn't quite work out the way they were hoping for it to go there. So that's another reason they probably didn't put the charging mechanism in there. Another feature from that last gen iPad that a lot of people complained about in their reviews and didn't feel too premium and actually feels really old now is the display itself. It's not a laminated or bonded display. Pretty much every screen on every device that's being made today is a laminated display. So what I'm talking about here is it takes the screen itself, you know, the pixels, the film that is sitting on, and it actually takes the glass above it and it like puts them together. It seals them together. So there's no gap and it looks really nice. If you look at older iPads or if you look at this 10th gen iPad, there is a sizable gap. And this is something we just don't see on screens anymore, but you see it here. Why? The education market. One of the reasons that Chromebooks are so popular in school is because if you bust one, all you have to do is hand a kid a new one, have them log in with their Google account, and they have everything right there. It's plug and go. iPads are a little different. Setting up an Apple account takes a few more steps in there. And one of the things that happens a lot with iPads and with phones, you've probably seen it, is the glass screen on top cracks and it breaks, especially when you put this in kids' hands who aren't being careful, they're not paying attention. These screens break and crack all the time, or at least the glass on the screens do. So what happens if you have a bonded display, a laminated display? Well, not only are you damaging the glass, you're damaging the screen below it, which means you have to replace that entire component. And guess what? Replacing that entire component costs a heck of a lot more than just replacing that glass screen, or at least the glass that's sitting over the screen. It also helps for the education market that they're able to lower the price of the Apple Pencil because it is fairly expensive. One of the things to point out about this new Apple Pencil is that there are a lot of styluses that actually already have the same exact features that this new pencil has for a lot less than $60 or $70. This is one. This is the Logitech Crayon that came out. This one actually wasn't that cheap. I think this came in around $50 or $60. There's some that you can pick up on Amazon for like $20 that are Apple Pencil styluses that do pretty much everything the Apple Pencil does except pen pressure. This Logitech thing doesn't do pen pressure either. Now, I do want to put a disclaimer on this video. I do not know this for a fact. These are things I've read. This is stuff that analysts have say. This is people who know the market a heck of a lot better, who've described this sort of thing and why Apple makes some of the choices they make, especially in some of their products. And it makes a lot of sense when you actually start looking at the decisions they're making on these entry-level iPads and these Apple Pencils in context of how the education market works and what those folks are looking for. Even though these are available to every consumer everywhere, that's the baseline they're designing for. Yeah, so going forward, you're going to hear this a lot in my videos. You're going to hear me explain, hey, make sure you get the right Apple Pencil. Make sure you don't get the cheapest one. For those of you who watch a lot of my videos and watch consistently, first of all, Thank you. Second of all, one of the criticisms I do get when I mention things like that over and over and over again is like, why are you hammering away at this in every single video? I get this in my Samsung videos when I talk about like something like palm rejection. Why do you keep hammering Samsung on palm rejection? And it's not that I'm trying to hammer them or anything. It's just that after the first week or so, most of the people who watch one of my reviews aren't people who've watched many of my videos, probably have never seen any of my other videos before. This is their first time. If they're just here to research a product, buy it, and move on, it's probably the only video of mine they're ever gonna see. And so some of these things that I repeat over and over in videos, I do it specifically for newcomers who are just coming in, trying to get information about the products. People are making a buying decision. And so I will apologize in advance for telling people in all of my iPad videos moving forward, make sure you get the right Apple Pencil, but it is important information, and it's probably gonna save a lot of customers headaches going forward. Hopefully, if they listen, if they make it that far in the video. Yeah, so that's the Apple Pencil drama you may have heard about. What do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, if you'd like, check out some of my online courses at bradsartschool.com. I've got one on learning how to draw in 60 days, another one on introduction to digital art. Great way to support this channel and what I do here. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.